Hi, and welcome to EnviroCenter's presentation called the 10 Steps to a Low Carbon Workplace. My name is Elise McCann, and I'm the Director of Community Sustainability Programs at EnviroCenter. And for over 10 years, I've been designing and implementing sustainability programs for workplaces and organizations across the city. I've worked with businesses of various sizes and sectors, primarily to help them reduce their environmental footprint. So who are we? EnviroCenter is a local environmental nonprofit, and since 1999, we've been providing programs and services designed to help people reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. We focus in 4 primary areas: green homes and active transportation, green lifestyles, and green businesses. We're going to watch a quick video about EnviroCenter. One of our signature programs is called Carbon 613. The program is a comprehensive tool that provides the support, the resources, and the recognition to help businesses reduce their environmental impact. So we use an evidence-based approach that is a tried and tested model and customized for Canadian businesses. So as you can see here on the slide, it's membership-based. We provide events, resources, and discounts. We offer a carbon accounting tool for sustainability planning and business engagement tools, as well as access to a local network. Here are our members, and you can see that they vary in size and industry, from boutique hotels to the City of Ottawa, to local stores, services, and even consulting firms. So that gives you a sense of why this topic is of interest to us as an organization. And through this presentation, we aim to increase your awareness on why reducing your carbon footprint is important, to provide you with practical steps you can take no matter what your business line is, and to provide you with information after the presentation to support your next steps. So let's start with why we should care. So I think most people have a sense of what greenhouse gases are and their impact on the planet. So I'll just do a quick overview to make sure that we're all on the same page. So essentially, the atmosphere is like the air inside of a greenhouse, and carbon emissions are like the glass trapping the heat in. You often hear that we need to keep global warming under 1.5 degrees to avoid catastrophic impact, a level of impact that would destabilize the world's balance to a point where things like mass extinction, mass crop failure, wide-scale flooding, and warming start to spiral out of control, all of which have economic impacts as well. While we don't know exactly what the impacts will be, we know that climate change is already happening. Warming temperatures and catastrophic fires, floods, droughts are happening around the globe. And because of this, we're seeing that global, federal, and municipal emission reduction targets are being set. The Paris Agreement sets out a global framework that limits global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius and pursuing efforts to limit it as much as 1.5. Our federal target in Canada is to reach 30% below 2005 levels by 2030 and net zero by 2050. The City of Ottawa has set a target of net zero by 2050, but really most of that action needs to happen by 2030. So we need to act now, and each and every one of us can do something. and businesses play a big role. So you may think, but I'm only one small business. How can I make a difference? But multiply that impact by 18,000 small to medium-sized enterprises in Ottawa, and that impact is huge. Small to medium-sized enterprises make up over 90% of the Canadian economy, which means not only does their carbon footprint matter, but there are many opportunities within the green economy as well. And if that's a topic that you're interested, you should check out our other workshop called Making the Green Economy Work for Your Business. So while we know that we need to reach those larger targets, I like to think of it like this. It's hard to move or steer a big ship, which is Canada. It's much easier to turn a bicycle. So that's each of us and every small business here in Ottawa. So let's talk about the benefits. There are many co-benefits to reducing your carbon footprint above and beyond your bottom line, which of course is very important. So here are a few examples of the benefits. A more efficient use of resources means you lower your operating costs and ultimately save money. The growing expectations from clients and employees that businesses consider their impact on the environment is important and one you can achieve. You can enhance your brand and you can differentiate. This can attract opportunities, clients, as well as top talent. So let's get into the core of this presentation, the 10 steps to help you get there. So where do we start? We have done extensive review of all kinds of tips and literature and curated this list of the top 10 steps for a low carbon workplace. Our goal is to give you information that no matter what your sector is or your business, that can be useful to you on your journey. So let's get started. Step 1, discovery. I like to say that it's hard to manage what you don't measure. So start by asking yourself, what are my sources of emissions? A great place to start is with the energy consumption of your building. For example, your gas consumption. Understanding your sources of emissions can be a phased effort. You don't have to do it all at once. But like I said, you can't manage what you don't measure or what you don't understand. It's like your finances. If you have a financial goal as an organization, you look at all your sources of revenue, your expenses, and then you make a plan. The same applies to energy. So carbon accounting is like financial accounting. It's a tool and a system for measuring and tracking your carbon footprint from some or all of the sources. I'm not going to dive deep into this topic, but it's really important that we at least talk about it. Carbon accounting follows a set of rules and standards. It's like financial accounting. The most common standard for businesses comes from the GHG protocol, which outlines more or less the rules for tracking and counting your inputs, your emissions. Things like heating, transportation, electricity use. And then that translates them into carbon emissions. The good news is you don't have to do this yourself. Today, there are many tools available online that you can look to. Or, for example, even here in Ottawa, as I was saying with our Carbon 613 program, we offer our members an Excel-based carbon accounting tool that is customized to your workplace needs. We also offer energy walkthroughs and ongoing support to help you with carbon accounting. But in simple terms, carbon accounting translates to that comprehensive footprint of your business's emissions. And it takes that information and translates it into numbers that anyone can use and understand. And when you have that number, you can then compare, you can set targets and goals, but it helps you with that starting place. Really, I like to say that carbon accounting is the building block for meaningful climate action for a business. So you might be asking yourself, why would I measure my carbon footprint? And carbon accounting is like any business process, and it's important for a few reasons. Carbon is the most important environmental impact to mitigate. It is part of evaluating the overall health of your organization, your triple bottom line. And it allows you to create that inventory of emissions so you can track and also report on an ongoing basis. So carbon accounting is that information that you collect that quantifies your impact, and it's that building block, as I said, to building that sustainability plan. So let's look at a success story right here in Ottawa. A local company by the name of Aston Johnson out on Tarrant Road in Canada did a comprehensive lighting retrofit. And through that lighting retrofit, they saw a 94% reduction in electricity costs. And they also saw a 42% increase in overall luminance in their plant. But they knew that it was a good investment because they ran the numbers, the carbon accounting piece. They identified the opportunity, they identified incentives that could support their work, and now they can quantify the impact that that's had overall. So that's a real success story right here in Ottawa. Step 2, commitment. It's very important to get that management buy-in. And sometimes sustainability is a bottom-up, and sometimes it's more of a top-down approach. It depends on your business. What's important to do is identify your business goals and connect your sustainability planning to those goals. So really, getting that management buy-in can depend on, again, the type of organization. If you're a local retailer and your focus is on customer demands and having a competitive advantage, then you might want to focus on the link between your sustainability goals and the branding opportunities that it provides to really make that case for sustainability. When you're looking to get that management buy-in, find out what the tools are that your organization uses to articulate those goals, to solidify those goals within the management planning. Most organizations have a business plan or a strategic plan where they set goals and objectives designed to inform the year or years to come. Embed those sustainability goals right into those strategic and business plans. That's how you create that commitment and that buy-in from the organization. So once you've made that commitment internally, make it public. Let the world know you're taking action. How you post your commitment and where, again, depends on the type of organization or business you have. For example, the Shaw Centre here in Ottawa, they have signs in their bathrooms that tell their visitors and guests that they're using low-flow water or other sustainability activities within the organization. That's a place that they can communicate with the people using the business. IKEA, they're very proud of their green products and their sustainability activities internally as well. And they'll post it through signage on their website, through their social media to generate awareness and interest in their activities. A local hotel or bed and breakfast might include green certification at the time of booking, but also in their rooms. So a few other examples of where you can post your sustainability goals and objectives includes the About Us page on your website, possibly your annual report. Think about your marketing materials and where you can include that goal, and even in your onboarding or HR materials so you can generate buy-in from your employees as well. Let's look at a few examples of companies that have posted their sustainability goals online. You can see here that some of these are very large companies, but what's interesting is the different platforms that they've used. Some have used video, some have used social media, some have created blogs and posts to inform their customers, clients, potential future employees about their sustainability goals and objectives. It really depends. Let's look at a few local organizations. Angela's Bed and Breakfast is a local B&B, and her objective is to be the B&B with the smallest carbon footprint here in Ottawa. So she posts it on her website and makes that clear to her potential guests about what she's doing. Open Concept is a consulting firm that primarily offers accessibility in web design, but one of the statements they make is that they're not only for profit, and so they're investing in their sustainability. To help companies get started, Carbon 613, EnviroCenter's local sustainability program, offers the Carbon 613 Pledge as a starting point. For an organization that isn't sure what to say or how to say it, they can use this as a statement where Carbon 613 businesses have committed to working towards a net zero Ottawa in 2050. So that's that statement that connects the organization and gives them a goal to work towards. Step 3, engagement. The next step is building that culture of sustainability internally. And there are a few very easy ways to do that. You can establish a sustainability committee. You can get input from various departments and perspectives from the organization. And it's really important to listen to your employee needs and interests. Who you connect with and engage also depends on your industry. Start by asking yourself whose behavior it is that you are trying to change. Is it your guests? Is it your staff? Is it your clients? Who are you trying to inform so that they get on board with your sustainability goals? because sometimes they need to modify their behaviors as well to help you achieve your goals. So getting that culture of sustainability internally is really important, and think about who it is that you need to engage. It's also really important to report on your activities. Sustainability is not a quick fix. It's not something you do overnight. It takes time. And if you are engaging staff, engaging management, you want to be able to report on your activities and demonstrate success over time. It's not a one-time deal with, we've done this, check mark. It's ongoing. So remember, too, that you have the opportunity to set the tone for your sustainability efforts. It may be difficult for some people. It may create or impose a change within the organization, but you can set that tone. You can make it positive and something that people want to be part of. Step 4, low-hanging fruit. Quick wins are very important to get things going. Quick wins build momentum. We know that carbon is the most important thing to address and the most important environmental impact to mitigate. However, sometimes those are more of the longer term plans and activities. So if you can identify and start with a quick win internally, it's better to start with something than to wait until everything can be done perfectly. So a quick win might be something like waste. It is difficult to measure the carbon footprint of waste, but it still has an impact. And if an organization and employees have identified that waste is problematic, start there and put in systems that will generate awareness and buy-in overall. Most businesses can identify something to start with. Maybe it's lighting. A lighting retrofit can often have a positive environmental benefit, but it's easier to implement than you're automating your entire business, building systems. So think about those quick wins. One example could be your equipment life cycle. Most companies are replacing equipment and systems and even vehicles on an annual basis. So start with that commitment to the greenest product the next time you're looking to replace something within your organization. Some may have a slightly higher cost up front, but if you calculate the long-term environmental and energy savings over time, that slightly higher cost up front is worth it in the long term. You may be asking yourself, how do I figure out what the greenest products are? Enercan has a wonderful system called Energy Star, and you can find out about all kinds of products and their environmental rating. So look for that. You can also conduct an energy audit if you're asking yourself where to start. An energy audit can be as complex or as simple as you want it to be, but really it is a step to help you identify the systems and the activities that will have the biggest impact, but also helps you prioritize or make a longer-term plan. Step 5, automation. Automation improves the building performance and also reduces the need to even train people on the more sustainable choice. By putting in systems that force people to take the best option, you're going to make it easier for everyone. But remember, if you're going with automation, it's still important to communicate. So some of the things that people tend to automate include lighting, water, and heating. They use sensors or revolving doors. Sometimes you'll walk into a large building and see the sign that says, please help us save energy, and use the revolving door. There's that link between the communication and the automation. But recent studies have shown that the use of a building automation system can reduce utility and operating costs by up to 15%. And even more specifically, a building automation system that adjusts thermostats and lights based on time of day, occupancy, or usage patterns can contribute to energy savings of up to 30%. So that's a big return on investment. Step 6, commuting. In our car-centric society, we tend to plan for cars and cars alone. And that means parking, parking, and more parking. Did you know that the cost of the average parking space above ground can be as much as $24,000 or as much as $34,000 for underground parking? That's not cheap. And it's important to remember that that usually only services one car and one person. But you can think beyond the car, and there are a few really, really easy ways to do that. You can incentivize multiple modes. For example, most companies reimburse kilometers for daytime travel needs for the personal vehicle, but we don't often think about incentivizing sustainable transportation. You can think about policies and procedures internally that are encouraging people to drive and commute by their car. So an easy thing to think about is something like bike parking and amenities for people using other modes of transportation. Things like a place to store some clothes if you're going to be cycling, or a rack to hang your helmet, or umbrellas for walkers to use for a rainy day. Those are little amenities. Carpooling is another option, and one of the biggest barriers to carpooling is often finding a match. Here in Ottawa, we have a platform called Ottawa Ride Match that allows you to connect with other people looking to give a ride or in need of a ride. And this platform has over 5,600 people signed up. A workplace can even request a dedicated URL for their company to help employees match together. It's a great tool available here in Ottawa. Step 7 involves looking at your corporate transportation. So 44% of local emissions are from transportation, and this includes your fleets, which can have a huge impact as well as cost. Corporate transportation includes how people are getting around for business, but also the business travel, so air, train, or bus, etc. But there are some easy things that you can do to reduce the carbon footprint of corporate transportation. Number 1 is look at your fleet. Something easy to do is just that maintenance of that fleet. Are the tire pressures well maintained and fully inflated? Keeping tires properly inflated can prevent as much as 250 pounds of CO2 emissions from entering the atmosphere each year, or the equivalent of 48 liters of gas. That makes a difference. You can also provide staff training on efficient driving. A lot of people don't realize that limiting fast starts and stops has a big impact on the amount of fuel you're using for your vehicle, which has an impact as well on your overall carbon footprint. Driving the speed limit is another example. So you can provide some easy training for your employees. There are a number of technologies that exist that some companies use in their fleets to track driving patterns, behaviors, and kilometers, but it depends on your company and your willingness to invest in those technologies. Another opportunity is to electrify. As you replace your fleet, consider electric vehicles. EVs are a quarter of the cost to drive than gas cars, and your typical EV owner saves $1,500 to $2,000 per year on fuel. As well, fully electric cars do not require oil changes, transmission, or exhaust system, and the average EV owner can save hundreds of dollars a year on maintenance costs. Electric motors are much more durable than gas engines and only have one moving part. So there's far less opportunity for components to break. So that's a lot of cost savings. So while the initial cost might be a little bit more, if you add in the overall savings, annual savings each year, we're seeing now that the life cycle cost of a car is close to the same. As well, the growing network of charging stations is a benefit to your staff, your clients, as well as the city. There are maps online now that show people where these charging stations are, and you can be part of that trend. Business travel is another way in which you can really reduce your carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of air travel is astronomical. If you can limit or avoid air travel whenever possible, that will have a big benefit to your carbon footprint. You can choose rail instead, and especially here in Ontario, where our electricity grid is much cleaner. And in many cases, for short trips like to Toronto, the actual time is very similar when you factor in the time you need to arrive at an airport early, the time spent in lines and security versus the time spent on the train. Really, the math is almost the same. So it's not as much of a cost of a time saver as many people think. You can also use technologies to meet your business meeting needs. Think about, do you really need to go there in person? Do you need to make that air trip? Can it be done using video conference or by phone? If you do have to travel, consider the impact also when you get there. Are you using the greenest hotel options? What are your transportation choices once you get there? All of these things have an impact on your carbon footprint. And you can also consider step 8, which is offsets. Offsets can be generated and sold from any activity that reduces the amount of heat-trapping emissions that are emitted into the atmosphere. This can include things like planting trees or other activities that store carbon in land or water instead of the air. So clean energy or development projects are also another way that you can invest and leverage offsets. But what's important to remember is that offsets are not the solution. They can be part of the solution. But really, the objective is to reduce emissions, not exclusively offset them. So you can offset your basic operations as well. Look into a company called Bullfrog Power to help you understand what your options are. You can also purchase offsets for your airline tickets. But again, the most important thing to do is to not fly in the first place. When you choose offsets, make sure that you choose an accredited source and that you know what your options are. There's a lot of offsets out there that are not as effective as they say they are. So it's important to do your research and understand what it is that you're purchasing. Step 9 is reduce waste. For many businesses, starting with reducing their waste is a natural first step. It's very visual and it's great for engaging staff and clients and demonstrating that you are taking action. But remember that measuring the carbon footprint of your waste is difficult. Great way to start is to conduct a waste audit so that you can understand what your sources of waste are and look at what your existing disposal systems are. You can pay a third party to conduct a waste audit, or you can even do it yourself using staff and basic technologies. But the goal is to both understand what the primary sources of waste are and what your disposal system opportunities are and make sure that they align. So some easy examples are, do you have basic recycling to divert from landfill? Do you have composting? And if not, why? Is that possible? Do you have the proper signage in your workplace to ensure that people are using the systems properly? Are you educating and informing staff, clients, guests of which systems to use? Conducting regular waste audits on a quarterly or annual basis can also help you gather data to see if your systems are working and where you might need to tweak them. E-waste and the circular economy are two other things you can look at as well. So many organizations have technologies, computers, printers, etc. within their operations, and ensuring that you're disposing of those properly is really important. The circular economy is the opportunity to look at, really, do you need to buy that new? Can you consider something secondhand? There are even local stores in Ottawa that help businesses purchase secondhand furniture. We have all kinds of online sites that can help you make a better choice. You could also think about when you're finished with a product, does that need to go in the landfill? Could somebody else use it? The circular economy is growing momentum and a great way to reduce your overall environmental impact. And step 10 is green your supply chain. Depending on your industry, how you green your supply chain or your scope 3 emissions will vary. Start with a manageable goal and then grow from there. Your supply chain includes your products, any services that you're purchasing, any of those items that your business relies on. And if you don't look at this, it can actually mitigate some of your own efforts. So it's worth looking at. So step 1 is to set a goal. What area is it reasonable for you to green your supply chain? Are you going to look at the products that you're purchasing, which means it can be for an office, things like pens and paper and anything that your office is using for its day-to-day operations. Can you consider a greener product, a recycled product? But you can also look at your services. Who are you purchasing services from? Anything from catering to cleaning. There are greener options that exist. Taking the time to think about the other services that you're purchasing and the other products is going to amplify your efforts and also help grow the green economy. So we've looked at 10 steps. Let's go over them really quickly in a nutshell. Step 1, discovery. Know where your emissions are coming from. Step 2, that commitment. What are the strategies and policies that should be in place to reflect your commitment to reduce your carbon footprint? Step 3, engagement. Engage staff, clients, guests. They're all part of the solution. Step 4, low-hanging fruit. Those are those quick wins that help you build momentum and get your activities going. Step 5, automation. What can you automate within your organization or business to increase the efficiency of building performance? Step 6 is looking at commuting. How are people getting to and from your business? Think beyond the personal vehicle. Step 7, corporate transportation. Reduce and avoid air travel whenever you can. Maintain your fleets and electrify if you're replacing any fleets. Step 8 is offsets, remembering that this can be part of the solution, but it is not the most effective or important one. Step 9, looking at waste. It is a visible, tangible measure that you can do to engage staff and reduce your environmental impact. And step 10 is the supply chain. Go green and demand more from your supply chain. Thank you for your time today. We'd love to hear from you to learn more about what you're doing at your business to reduce your carbon footprint. You can find out more about all of our programs and services at envirocenter.ca. Thank you.